The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep hum that made Captain Hyunwoo Kim's chest vibrate. He walked forward on steady legs, but his heart was beating fast. Behind him, Ambassador So Young Park adjusted her small translation device for the third time in 2 minutes. The chamber was huge, so huge that Hyunwoo could barely see the ceiling above them. Thousands of alien beings filled the curved seats that rose up like a giant bowl around the central speaking area. Some creatures looked like walking trees with too many arms. Others were made of what seemed like living metal that shifted and changed shape. A few species floated in the air inside clear bubbles filled with strange colored gas. Hyunwoo had seen pictures and videos of this place, but being here was different. The sounds alone were overwhelming. Some aliens made clicking noises when they talked. Others created musical tones that went up and down like singing. A few species communicated with flashing lights that hurt to look at directly. "Remember what? We practiced," So Young whispered to him in Korean as they walked to the small platform in the center. "Stay calm. Let me do most of the talking." Hyunwoo nodded. He was a military man, trained for combat and strategy. But this was politics, and politics with aliens was something no human had much experience with. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago. Most species in the galaxy had been members for thousands of years. A deep voice boomed across the chamber. The translation device in Hyunwoo's ear turned the alien words into Korean. "The Council recognizes the delegation from the Sol system, third planet, commonly known as Earth." The two humans stopped at their designated spot. Around them, thousands of alien eyes, sensors, and other sensing organs focused on them. Hyunwoo felt very small and very alone. Prime Regent Thoxel of the Velkari hegemony rose from his seat. He was 12 feet tall with gray skin that looked like stone. 4 arms moved independently as he spoke, each one making different gestures. His voice was so deep that Hyunwoo felt it in his bones. "Members of the Galactic Council," Thoxel began, "we gather today to discuss the human problem." So Young stepped forward. "With respect, Prime Regent, we do not consider ourselves a problem. We are a peaceful species seeking our place among the stars." Several alien species made sounds that the translator identified as laughter. Not friendly laughter, the kind of laughter adults make when a child says something silly. Thoxel's 4 arms gestured toward a large screen that appeared in the air above them. Images of Earth began to show. Cities, farms, oceans, and forests. Then came images of human space technology, ships that looked primitive compared to the sleek alien vessels Hyunwoo had seen. "Observe," Thoxel said. "Humans achieved spaceflight only 400 of their years ago. Their fastest ships travel at barely 1% of light speed without using jump gates. Their weapons are chemical explosives and simple energy beams. Their population is only 12 billion across 4 colonies." The screen changed to show human soldiers. Hyunwoo recognized the uniforms of Earth Defense Forces. The aliens in the chamber made more sounds. Some seemed amused. Others sounded bored. "In comparison," Thoxel continued, "the youngest member, species of this council, the Ilani, achieved faster-than-light travel 50,000 years ago. The average Galactic Council species controls between 100 and 10,000 star systems. Humans control 4 systems. 4. A creature that looked like a giant flower with eyes spoke up. The translator called it representative bloom of stars from the Ilani. "Perhaps the humans simply need more time to develop. We could offer assistance and guidance." "Time they do not have," said a voice like grinding metal. This came from Enforcer Unit 7 of the Kronex Collective. The robot-like being continued. "Analysis indicates humans are expanding too rapidly for their technology level. They are dangerous to themselves and potentially to established trade routes." So Young's face was red now. Hyunwoo could see her hands shaking slightly. "We have never threatened anyone. We have followed all Galactic Council laws and regulations. Our expansion has been approved by your own committees." A new voice joined the conversation. This one sounded like crystal bells ringing. "The concern is not current behavior, but potential future behavior." The speaker was a Nethivar, a being made of what looked like living crystal. Humans show concerning traits. They are highly aggressive compared to most species. They adapt quickly to new environments. Their birth rate is much higher than the galactic average. These traits, added another Velkari representative, suggest humans could become a threat if allowed to continue unrestricted expansion. It is better to act now, while the situation can be managed peacefully. Hyunwoo felt anger building in his chest. These aliens were talking about his species like they were discussing a pest problem. He started to step forward, but So-young caught his arm. "What exactly are you proposing?" So-young asked. Thoxel's image changed again. This time it showed star maps with areas marked in red. Relocation to designated preservation zones. There are several suitable regions on the outer rim of the galaxy. Humans would have complete autonomy within these areas. You would be protected from the dangers of galactic politics and war. The chamber fell quiet. Even the constant background noise of alien communication stopped. So-young looked at the star map. The preservation zones were tiny compared to the rest of the galaxy. They were far from major trade routes, far from resource-rich systems, far from everything that mattered. "You want to put us in a cage," Hyunwoo said. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. "A comfortable cage," corrected Bloom of Stars, "with everything needed for human survival and happiness. It is for your own protection." "Protection from what?" Hyunwoo asked. Enforcer Unit 7's metal voice answered. "Protection from species that might see humans as a threat and choose less peaceful solutions than relocation." The threat was clear. Submit to relocation or face something much worse. Commander Ji-ho Lee, the third member of the human delegation, had been silent until now. He was older than the other two, a veteran of conflicts that had taught him to read between words. "How long do we have to consider this offer?" he asked. 6 months, Thoxel replied. "Time enough for humans to make proper arrangements and begin orderly relocation." So-young straightened her shoulders. "We need to consult with our government before we can respond." "Of course," Thoxel said, "but understand this. The Council has already voted on this matter. The decision is final. We are simply being courteous by giving you time to comply voluntarily." The chamber erupted in alien sounds again. Most seemed to be expressions of agreement and approval. Hyunwoo looked around at the thousands of alien beings, each species more advanced than humanity. Each species with technology and knowledge that humans could barely understand. Each species now united in their decision to remove humans from the galactic stage. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people living their lives, building families, dreaming of exploring the stars, about human colonies on Mars and Europa and Titan, where children were being born who had never breathed Earth air. All of it to be swept away because these aliens thought humans might someday become inconvenient. "We understand your position," So-young said formally. "Earth will respond within the given time frame." As they turned to leave, Hyunwoo spoke one more time. His voice was quiet, but it carried clearly through the massive chamber. "You do not know what you are unleashing." Most of the aliens did not respond. A few made sounds the translator identified as contempt or amusement. They had already dismissed his words as empty human pride. As the three humans walked back through the massive doors, Ji-ho Lee whispered to his companions, "Now we find out what humanity is really made of." 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council delivered their ultimatum. On Earth, most people went about their daily lives not knowing that their entire future hung by a thread. But deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a facility that officially did not exist, Dr. Woojin Nam was about to change everything. The elevator descended for what felt like forever. When it finally stopped, the doors opened to reveal a massive underground complex. Hundreds of people in clean white coats moved between computers, laboratories, and manufacturing areas that stretched as far as the eye could see. "Welcome to Prometheus Base," Woojin said to the small group of visitors. President Da-Yun Choi stood beside Defense Minister Tae-jin Yu and Chief Scientist Mi-ra Shin. All three had the highest security clearances on Earth, but none of them had known this place existed. "How long has this been operating?" President Choi asked. 23 years, Wu Jin replied as he led them down a wide corridor lined with laboratories. We started construction the day after first contact with the Velkari. Some of us suspected this day would come. They stopped at a window that looked into a large testing chamber. Inside, technicians were working on what looked like a small spacecraft, but its design was unlike anything in the official Earth Defense Force fleet. Is that alien technology? Minister Yu asked. Partly, Wu Jin said. We have been very careful over the years. Every time an alien ship had mechanical problems near our space, we offered to help. Every time we found crashed probe ships in our asteroid belt, we studied them before reporting the discovery. We learned to reverse engineer their systems without them knowing. Mira pressed her face closer to the window. The spacecraft in the chamber had Earth-made hull plating, but the engines were clearly based on alien designs. Weapon systems that should not exist on human ships were mounted along the sides. How many ships like this do we have? She asked. This facility alone has produced 47 combat vessels, Wu Jin said. But we are not the only facility. He led them to another area where a massive holographic display showed the solar system. But this was not the solar system that appeared on any public map. This version showed dozens of additional structures. Mining stations that were actually weapons platforms, research outposts that were really military bases, civilian transport routes that could quickly become supply lines for a war fleet. We call it the Hidden Fleet, Wu Jin explained. Every major human colony has secret defensive installations. Every mining operation doubles as a military facility. Every civilian captain in our merchant fleet has received combat training. President Choi stared at the display. How did you keep this secret for so long? Because everyone wanted to keep it secret, said a new voice. Captain Yoon Ji-bae entered the room wearing a standard civilian mining uniform, but her bearing was clearly military. Every human who learned about this project understood what it meant. We were preparing for the day when friendship would not be enough. She activated another section of the holographic display. This one showed human colonies throughout local space, but with additional information that made Minister Yu whistle in surprise. Each colony location was chosen for strategic value, Yoonji explained. New Seoul on Kepler 442b sits on one of the most important hyperspace routes in this sector. Our colony on Ross 128b is positioned to control 3 different jump points. What look like peaceful farming communities are actually fortress worlds. The display zoomed in on one colony. What appeared to be a small farming town was revealed to have underground bunkers, hidden weapons depots, and defensive positions that could turn every building into a combat stronghold. The colonists know? Mira asked. Every adult colonist receives military training, Yoonji confirmed. They practice farming during the day and warfare at night. Their children learn to shoot before they learn to read alien languages. Wu Jin led them to the final area of their tour. This room was filled with people working at computer terminals, but these were not scientists or engineers. These were intelligence analysts. Meet our secret weapons, Wu Jin said. Dr. Yuna Kang and communications specialist Jae-sung Oh. Yuna looked up from her work. She was younger than the others, but her eyes showed the intensity of someone who had been studying their enemies for years. We know more about alien psychology than they know about themselves, she said. Every species has weaknesses. The Velkari think in straight lines and cannot adapt when their plans fail. The Kroneks are logical but cannot understand actions that seem irrational. The Nethvar are very smart, but they get confused when too many things happen at once. Jae-sung activated his workstation. The screen showed communication networks that stretched across the galaxy. We have been listening to their private communications for 15 years. We know their fleet positions, their supply routes, their political problems. They think their encryption is perfect, but they do not understand human pattern recognition abilities. What have you learned? President Choi asked. They are not as united as they pretend, Yuna said. The Velkari want to control human space, for themselves. The Kroneks see humans as potential allies against their other enemies. The Nethvar are afraid that human creativity will make their own technology obsolete. So we can divide them against each other? Minister Yu asked. Better than that, Jae-sung said with a smile. We have been dividing them against each other for months. Small communications errors that make them suspicious of each other. Trade disputes that seem like accidents. Technical problems that each species blames on the others. The room fell quiet as the visitors absorbed what they were seeing. Earth had not been passively waiting for the aliens to relocate them. Earth had been preparing for war. How many people know about all this? President Choi asked. On Earth, about 50,000 people work directly for the Prometheus project, Woo Jin said. But millions more have been trained and equipped without knowing the full picture. Every space worker, every colonist, every merchant ship captain has been given skills and equipment they think are for normal civilian use. And off-world? Every human colony has similar preparations, Yoonji said. Admiral Seong-ho Han has been coordinating with resistance cells across human space. When the time comes, we can activate a military force that the aliens do not know exists. President Choi walked back to the window overlooking the spacecraft construction area. What are our chances if this becomes a real war? In a straight fight using the tactics and weapons they expect us to use, we would lose badly, Woo Jin admitted. But we are not going to fight the war they expect. He activated one more display. This one showed estimated alien fleet strengths compared to known human military assets. The numbers were overwhelming in favor of the aliens. Then he pressed another button. The display changed to show the true scope of human preparation. Hidden fleets, secret weapons, trained populations, and detailed intelligence on alien weaknesses. The numbers were still against humanity, but not by nearly as much. The aliens think they know everything about us, Yuna said. They have watched our public military exercises. They have seen our official fleet capabilities. They have read our published scientific papers, but they have never seen humans when we are truly angry and truly united. Are we really going to fight the entire galaxy? Minister Yu asked. We are going to show the galaxy that humans are not pets to be relocated, President Choi said firmly. Send the message to all Prometheus facilities. Begin final preparations. In 3 months, when their deadline arrives, we will give them an answer they will never forget. As the visitors left the underground facility, none of them spoke. They were all thinking the same thing. Humanity was about to discover whether 23 years of secret preparation would be enough to survive what was coming. Above ground, normal people continued their normal lives. They went to work, cared for their families, and looked up at the stars with dreams of exploration and peace. But deep below the surface and in hidden facilities across human space, the real work of survival was just beginning. The deadline had arrived. Admiral Kyung-min Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Valkyrie dreadnought Eternal Glory, as it approached the Sol system. Behind him, a fleet of 300 ships from 5 different alien species moved. In perfect formation, this was meant to be a simple relocation operation, not a battle. All ships report ready status, his communications officer announced. The humans should be prepared for peaceful transfer to transport vessels. Kyung-min nodded. According to their intelligence, humanity had only 12 military vessels capable of space combat. Against 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships, resistance would be suicide. He expected the humans to surrender immediately. Sir, the sensor operator called out. I am detecting no Earth Defense Force ships in the system, no military communications, no defensive positions. Perhaps they have already evacuated, suggested the tactical officer. Some humans may have chosen to relocate voluntarily. Kyung-min studied the sensor readings. The solar system looked exactly as their intelligence reports described. Earth hung peacefully in space, its cities glowing with normal activity. The moon showed standard mining operations. Mars had its usual collection of research stations and small colonies. Take us to Earth. Orbit, he commanded. Begin broadcasting the relocation instructions. The Valkyrie fleet moved deeper into the system. Other alien fleets spread out to secure the outer planets and asteroid belt. Everything was proceeding according to plan. On Luna Base, hidden beneath what appeared to be a simple mining operation, Captain Hai Won-yoon watched the alien ships approach on her tactical display. Around her, 36 technicians sat at control stations, their hands ready over weapon systems that officially did not exist. All hidden assets report ready, her weapons officer announced. Asteroid platforms are online. The lunar cannon is charging. Ghost Fleet is in position. Haya-wan looked at the display showing alien ship positions. They were spread out perfectly, each group isolated and vulnerable. The aliens had positioned themselves exactly where human war planners had hoped they would. Remember, she said to her crew, we get one surprise attack. After this, they will know what we are capable of. Make it count. She opened a channel to all hidden human forces throughout the system. This is Luna Command to all units. Execute Order 7. Execute Order 7. Show them what humans can do. Across the solar system, mining platforms that had been operating for years suddenly transformed. Their mining equipment folded away to reveal massive weapon arrays. Civilian transport ships dropped their outer hulls like shed skin, emerging as sleek combat vessels bristling with alien-designed weapons. The first shot came from an asteroid that the aliens had ignored completely. What they thought was a small mining operation revealed itself as a weapons platform the size of a city. A particle beam that could slice through a moon struck the lead Velkari ship, cutting it in half before its shields could activate. What was that? Kyungmin shouted as his bridge shook from the explosion of a ship 3 kilometers away. Where did that come from? His sensor operator stared at her readings in disbelief. Sir, I am detecting weapons fire from everywhere. The asteroids, the mining platforms, even civilian transport ships are attacking us. The tactical display showed the horrible truth. What had seemed like an empty system was actually filled with hidden human military assets. Ships that registered, as civilian transports were engaging Velkari destroyers in close combat. Mining stations were launching missiles that moved faster than anything in the alien databases. Impossible, Kyungmin breathed. Our intelligence said they had 12 ships. A new voice came over the communications channel. It spoke perfect. Velkari, but the accent was human. Velkari Fleet, this is Captain Hai Wan-yoon of the Luna Defense Command. You came here expecting to relocate helpless civilians. Instead, you have found the human military at full readiness. Surrender now, or be destroyed. Luna Defense Command? Kyungmin's communications officer looked confused. Sir, our maps show Luna as having only mining operations. The answer came in the form of the moon itself opening up like a flower. The entire visible surface split apart to reveal the largest weapon ever built by human hands. The lunar particle cannon had been under construction for 15 years, disguised as mining operations and research facilities. The beam that emerged from Luna was so bright that ships throughout the system automatically darkened their viewports. It struck the alien command ship Galactic Harmony and vaporized it instantly. The explosion was visible from Earth with the naked eye. All ships, emergency retreat, Kyungmin ordered. But it was too late. Across the system, human forces that had been hiding in plain sight for years revealed their true nature. Colonel Byung-ho Choi led special forces teams that had been posing as civilian passengers on alien transport ships. At the signal, they seized control of their vessels and turned their alien captors into prisoners. On Europa, what the aliens thought was a peaceful research station launched fighters that moved like nothing in their tactical databases. The ships were small and fast, using human reflexes and alien technology in combinations that confused enemy targeting systems. Agent Soo-min Kim, working from inside the Nethvar Communication Center, activated a computer virus that had been dormant in their systems for months. The crystalline aliens watched in horror as their quantum computers began displaying impossible mathematical paradoxes that froze their logic centers. Sir, we are being jammed on all frequencies, Kyungmin's communications officer reported. I cannot contact the other fleets. Then use emergency protocols. Signal general retreat. But there was no retreat. Human forces had surrounded the alien fleets using ships and weapons that should not have existed. Every escape route was blocked by combat vessels that had emerged from hiding places throughout the system. Commander Yan-Su Lee, aboard the disguised merchant ship Peaceful Trader, watched as his crew transformed their vessel into a warship in less than 2 minutes. Cargo bays opened to reveal missile launchers. The engine room reconfigured itself for combat maneuvering. Even the hull plating shifted to show the true armored design beneath. "This is impossible," repeated Kyung Min, as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have existed. "Humans do not have this technology. They do not have these ships." His tactical officer looked up from her station with fear in her eyes. "Sir, I am analyzing the human weapons. These are our own designs, but modified in ways that make them more efficient. They have been studying our technology and improving it. The battle lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the alien invasion fleet had been completely destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship had been lost, though several had been damaged." Captain Hai Wan Yoon opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy. Her message was broadcast on every frequency that alien civilizations used for official communications. To all members of the Galactic Council, she said in a voice that carried no anger, only cold determination. "You came to our system expecting to relocate a primitive species. Instead, you found an enemy you did not know existed. This is what happens when you underestimate humanity." She paused, letting her words sink in across the galaxy. "We did not want this war, but since you have started it, we will finish it. Every species that voted for our relocation will now discover what humans are truly capable of. We are coming for you." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders stared at their communication screens in shock. The species they had dismissed as harmless primitives had just destroyed the largest military force ever assembled for a relocation operation. And according to the message, this was only the beginning. 1 month after the destruction of the relocation fleet, the galaxy was in chaos. Emergency sessions of the Galactic Council ran day and night. Military leaders from every major species demanded answers about how their intelligence had been so completely wrong about human capabilities. War Node, Prime Zexthul of the Kronex Collective, stood before a massive holographic display showing the wreckage in the Sol system. The mechanical being's optical sensors focused on the data with computer precision. "Analysis complete," Zexthul announced to the assembled War Council. Human military capability was underestimated by a factor of 50,000%. Immediate military response required to prevent total galactic destabilization. The other species representatives shifted nervously. The crystalline Nethvar representative, Crystal Singer Vorth Al, created musical tones that the translators interpreted as deep concern. "Perhaps negotiation would be more appropriate," Crystal Singer suggested. "The humans may be willing to return to peaceful coexistence if we withdraw our relocation demands." "Unacceptable," rumbled Prime Regent Thoxel of the Velkari. "They destroyed our ships. They humiliated the Galactic Council. If we do not respond with overwhelming force, every minor species in the galaxy will think they can challenge us." Warnode Zexthul's mechanical voice cut through the debate. "Military analysis indicates human forces are still limited by population and industrial capacity. A coordinated assault by all major species will overwhelm their defenses before they can expand further." The decision was made. The largest military force in galactic history would be assembled. Every major species would contribute their most advanced warships and weapons. The humans would be crushed before they could become a real threat. 3 weeks later, General In-Ho Kim stood in the command center of the mobile battle station, Defiance, as it moved through hyperspace toward the Kepler system. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of human forces scattered across local space. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting the alien response fleet," reported Captain Ji Hai, Lim from her position at the tactical station. "Preliminary count shows over 2,000 ships from 12 different species." In-Ho nodded. Intelligence reports had predicted this response. The aliens were bringing everything they had to finish humanity quickly. "Are our preparations complete?" he asked. "All human colonies report ready for extended siege operations," Ji Hai confirmed. "Hidden supply depots are stocked. Civilian populations have been moved to secure facilities. Ghost fleets are positioned along all major approach routes. The My General activated his communication system. "All unit commanders, this is General Kim. The aliens are coming with everything they have. They expect to fight the same humans who surprised them at Earth. They are about to learn that we have more surprises waiting for them. The first battle took place at Kepler Station, a human research outpost that controlled an important hyperspace junction. Commander Yan-Su Lee commanded the defense from what appeared to be a small civilian facility. The Kronex assault force arrived expecting light resistance. Instead, they found that the entire asteroid field around the station had been converted into a weapons network. But these were not normal weapons. Gravity mines activated, reported engineer Hanul Park from deep inside the station. Enemy fleet is entering the trap zone now. What the Kronex had not expected was human creativity applied to alien technology. The asteroids around Kepler Station had been equipped with gravity manipulation devices reverse-engineered from alien ship components. When activated, they created localized gravitational anomalies that could tear apart enemy vessels. The lead Kronex dreadnought found itself suddenly experiencing gravity equivalent to being near a black hole. Its hull began to compress as the crew inside was crushed by forces no starship was designed to withstand. "Impossible," transmitted the Kronex fleet commander. "Gravity weapons require massive energy sources. The humans do not have the infrastructure for such devices." Commander Lee's reply came back immediately. "You keep saying things are impossible. Perhaps you should reconsider what you think you know about human engineering." The battle lasted 12 hours. The Kronex lost 60% of their assault force before retreating. The humans lost no ships, though Kepler Station itself was badly damaged. But the real war was being fought in the minds of the enemy. Dr. Chang-Wook-Oh led a psychological warfare unit that had studied each alien species for years. They knew exactly how to break their enemy's will to fight. Against the hive-minded Kethel, the humans broadcast specially designed psychic feedback that turned their shared consciousness against itself. The insect-like aliens found their own thoughts becoming chaotic and painful. Against the emotionless Velkari, humans used logic bombs, carefully crafted mathematical paradoxes that their computer-like minds could not resolve. Entire Velkari fleets were paralyzed as their crews struggled with problems that had no solutions. The crystalline Nethvar faced sonic weapons that resonated with their crystal bodies at exactly the wrong frequency. Beautiful beings that normally created music found themselves shattering like glass when human ships played specific sound patterns. "These tactics are not honorable," complained Crystal Singer, Forthal during an emergency council session. "Warfare should be conducted according to established galactic conventions. Honor is for species that do not vote to relocate other species to prison worlds," came the human response from Ambassador So-Young Park. She was broadcasting from Earth, completely unafraid despite being surrounded by enemies. "We tried peaceful coexistence," she continued. "You rejected it. We tried diplomatic solutions. You ignored them. Now you are learning what happens when humans are forced to fight for survival." The tide of war began to shift as humans demonstrated capabilities that defied every alien understanding of how warfare should work. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually based on chaos mathematics. Human tactics changed so rapidly that alien artificial intelligence systems could not adapt fast enough. Captain Minho Park commanded the fast attack cruiser Retribution in hit-and-run strikes against alien supply lines. His crew had perfected a fighting style that used human unpredictability as a weapon. "Enemy patrol approaching," reported Weapons Officer Ara Kim. 3 Velkari destroyers, standard formation. "Standard formations are predictable," Minho replied. "Ara, prepare the chaos protocol. Subin, plot an impossible course." Navigator Subin Yoon smiled as she programmed a flight path that violated every rule of space combat. The Retribution would accelerate directly toward the enemy ships, then use a series of gravitational slingshots around nearby asteroids to change direction in ways that should have torn the ship apart. The Velkari commanders watched their sensors, in confusion as the human ship seemed to teleport around the battlefield. Their targeting systems could not predict where it would be next because the flight path made no logical sense. "Human ship destroyed," reported the lead Velkari destroyer, just before Retribution appeared behind them and destroyed all 3 enemy vessels with a single coordinated strike. But humans paid a price for their victories. Hero pilot Junho Seo died when he rammed his fighter into an alien command ship to save a human colony from orbital bombardment. Colony leader Na Young Han sacrificed herself to detonate a hidden nuclear device that destroyed an entire alien invasion force. Each loss made the surviving humans more determined. They were not just fighting for military victory. They were fighting for the right to exist as a free species. By the end of the counterattack phase, alien military leadership was in complete disarray. Their most advanced fleets had been defeated by an enemy they still did not understand. Worse, they were beginning to suspect that humanity had been holding back during these battles. War Node Zexthal's final report to the Galactic Council was simple and terrifying. Analysis update. Previous estimate of human military capability was still incorrect. Recommend immediate peace negotiations before humans demonstrate additional unknown capabilities. But it was too late for peace. Humanity had learned that the galaxy would never accept them as equals. There was only one solution left: total victory. 6 months after the war began, the surviving alien fleets were in full retreat toward the galactic core. But Admiral Songmi Bayek had no intention of letting them escape to regroup and attack humanity again in the future. Standing on the bridge of the human flagship Eternal Vengeance, she watched as her pursuit fleets spread across the galaxy like a hunting net. Behind her, Captain Minho Park operated the tactical display that showed fleeing alien ships as red dots scattered across hundreds of star systems. "Admiral, we have reports from all pursuit groups," announced Communications Officer Ara Kim. "The aliens are abandoning their outer colonies and consolidating around their home worlds." Songmi nodded. The aliens thought they could retreat to their fortress systems and wait for humanity to exhaust itself in long supply lines. They did not understand that humans had been planning this phase of the war for years. "Update from Strike Team Alpha," reported Captain Park. "Commander Hyojin Choi confirms that Phase 2 infiltration is proceeding on schedule." The Admiral smiled coldly. While alien attention focused on the obvious human fleets chasing them through space, small teams of human infiltrators had been quietly inserted into alien home systems months ago. They had traveled on captured alien ships disguised as refugees, prisoners, or even slave workers. Now those sleeper agents were beginning their real work. On the crystal world of Nethvar Prime, Crystal Singer Vorthal convened an emergency session of their ruling council. The beautiful crystalline beings gathered in their harmony chamber, their natural music creating peaceful tones that normally help them make wise decisions. "The human pursuit fleets are still 6 months away," Vorthal announced. "We have time to prepare our defenses and negotiate a settlement." The other crystal singers created agreeing harmonies. Their world was protected by energy shields that had never been broken. Their orbital defense platforms had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. They felt safe. They did not notice that one of their maintenance workers, a being they thought was a refugee from a destroyed colony, was actually Strike Team Alpha Leader Commander Hyojin Choi. She had been living on Nethvar Prime for 8 months, studying their defenses and learning their technology. Her human appearance had been surgically altered to match one of the galaxy's humanoid species. Her identification documents were perfect, forgeries created by human intelligence specialists. As the Crystal Singers debated their response to the human threat, Hyojin activated a device that had been hidden in the planet's main computer network for weeks. It was not a weapon or an explosive. It was something much more dangerous to the crystalline aliens. It was a virus designed specifically for their quantum consciousness network. The Nethvar did not just use computers. Their minds were partially integrated with their technology, allowing them to think and communicate at the speed of light. But this connection also made them vulnerable in ways they had never considered. The virus spread through their network in seconds. Instead of destroying their systems, it began generating the one thing that crystalline minds could not handle: pure chaos. Random thoughts, impossible ideas, and mathematical contradictions flooded their consciousness. Crystal Singer Vorthal stopped speaking in the middle of a sentence. Around the chamber, other Nethvar began producing discordant sounds as their perfect harmony was replaced by mental static. "What is happening to us?" one of them managed to ask before collapsing. Hyojin stepped forward, dropping her disguise. "You voted to relocate humanity to prison worlds. Now humanity is relocating you to history books. As the Nethvar leadership collapsed into unconsciousness, human ships appeared throughout their star system. But these were not invasion fleets. They were construction vessels. The crystalline aliens would wake up to find their world had been converted into a human research facility dedicated to studying extinct civilizations. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On Velkari worlds, alien leaders simply vanished in the night. Their security systems, designed to stop external threats, were useless against human infiltrators who had been studying them for months. On Kronex factory worlds, the artificial intelligences that controlled their production began receiving new programming from sources they identified as legitimate system updates. By the time they realized the updates were human infiltration programs, their entire manufacturing network was building human weapons instead of alien ones. Computer specialist Dongwan Im monitored these operations from his command ship. His team had spent years learning how each alien species designed their computer systems. Now they were using that knowledge to turn alien technology against its creators. The Kronex are attempting to upload their consciousnesses into a protected network, he reported to Admiral Songmi. They think they can escape physical destruction by becoming pure information. Can they? The Admiral asked. Dongwan smiled. They could if they had not been using computers infected with human logic bombs for the past 6 months. The moment they upload, they will discover that their protected network is actually under human control. The final phase of the pursuit began when human fleets reached alien home systems. But these were not the desperate last stands that the aliens expected. Captain Soo-hyun Kim led the assault on Velkari Prime, but her ships did not attack the planet directly. Instead, they broadcast a simple message to the population below. People of Velkari Prime, your government voted to imprison humanity in reservation worlds. Your leaders are already gone. Your fleets are destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. The Velkari military tried to activate their planetary defense systems. Nothing happened. The weapons had been sabotaged months ago by human infiltrators. They tried to contact their allies for help. The communication networks had been compromised by human computer specialists. They tried to evacuate their leadership to secure bunkers. The leaders were already gone, vanished by human strike teams. In desperation, some Velkari factions attempted to negotiate separate peace deals. But humanity's terms were non-negotiable: complete surrender and acceptance of human authority over all former alien territories. Most alien species chose surrender over extinction, but a few refused to accept defeat. The Kethel hive mind attempted to scatter their consciousness across multiple planets, hoping to preserve their species even if individual worlds were destroyed. They discovered too late that humans had been manipulating their hive network for months, implanting suggestions that made their own thoughts turn against them. The militaristic Zephyrians chose to fight to the last ship. Their warrior culture could not accept surrender to a species they still considered primitive. They got their wish for glorious battle, but it was very short and very one-sided. As each alien civilization fell or surrendered, the galaxy began to understand the true scope of human planning. This had not been a desperate war for survival. It had been a carefully orchestrated campaign to remove threats to human existence. The humans had not just won battles. They had eliminated their enemies so completely that most alien species simply ceased to exist as independent civilizations. Admiral, reported Captain Park as they entered the final phase of operations, we are receiving surrender offers from the last 17 independent systems. They are offering to serve as human vassals in exchange for survival. Admiral Songmi looked at the tactical display showing the remnants of galactic civilization. Red dots that had once represented hundreds of proud alien species were mostly gone now. Only a few green dots remained, marking systems that had accepted human authority. Inform them that humanity accepts their surrender, she said, but make sure they understand the terms. They survive as long as they serve human interests. The moment they become inconvenient, they will join their former allies in the history museums. The great pursuit was ending. The galaxy that had voted to relocate humanity to prison worlds was learning what prison really meant. It meant living only with human permission. 1 year after the war began, President Yoon Kim stood in what had once been the Galactic Council chamber. The massive room was empty except for a few dozen humans and the handful of alien species that had been permitted to survive. The thousands of seats that once held representatives from proud galactic civilizations were dark and silent. Most of those species no longer existed anywhere except in human museums and research databases. The age of the Galactic Council is over, President Kim announced to the small audience and the cameras that broadcast her words to every surviving world. Today begins the age of human guidance. In the audience, the surviving alien representatives sat in uncomfortable silence. Crystal Singer Harmony of Peace, one of the few Nethvar who had survived the consciousness virus, created soft musical tones that the translators interpreted as acceptance and fear. Bloom of Stars of the Yilani, whose people had voted for human relocation out of misguided compassion, rustled their flower-like petals nervously. They had learned that good intentions meant nothing when the result was the same as malicious ones. Some of you may wonder what happened to your former allies, President Kim continued. The Velkari hegemony, the Kronex Collective, and dozens of other civilizations that once controlled this galaxy. Let me be clear about their fate. She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Where once hundreds of different colored regions had marked the territories of various species, now there was mostly human blue, with small green areas marking vassal territories. They did not die in glorious battle. They were not enslaved or relocated to prison worlds. They simply stopped existing as independent entities. Their worlds are now human research facilities. Their technologies have been absorbed into human databases. Their histories are studied by human scholars as examples of civilizations that made poor choices. Dr. Young-Soo Park, the chief archaeologist, stepped forward to address the audience. We have cataloged the cultures and achievements of 47 extinct galactic species. Their art, their literature, their scientific discoveries, all preserved in human archives. Future generations will be able to study these civilizations and learn from their mistakes. The message was clear. The disappeared species were not forgotten, but they existed now only as museum exhibits and cautionary tales. Agent Seo Jun, now Director of Galactic Security, provided updates on the surviving client species. The Yilani have proven useful as agricultural specialists on human worlds. Their plant-based biology makes them excellent at food production and terraforming. As long as they remain useful, they will be allowed to continue existing. The few surviving Nethvar serve as living computers, their crystalline minds useful for certain types of mathematical calculations. They have accepted their role as tools in human civilization. Other surviving species have found their niches. The Zephyrian warrior culture has been redirected toward serving as human security forces on frontier worlds. The gentle Pexon make excellent caretakers for human children on colony worlds. Each species had been evaluated for their usefulness to human civilization. Those with valuable traits were permitted to survive as servants. Those without useful traits had simply ceased to exist. But what about the future? Asked Crystal Singer Harmony of Peace in her musical voice. Will humanity ever allow other species to regain independence? President Kim's expression did not change. That depends entirely on whether other species can learn to coexist with humanity as equals, rather than viewing us as inferiors to be managed. Admiral Sung-Hyun Lee, now head of Galactic Defense, expanded on this point. The former Galactic Council made a fundamental error. They believed that advanced technology and large populations automatically made them superior to younger species. They forgot that evolution and adaptation are more important than age or size. He activated a display showing human expansion across the galaxy. In just 1 year, human settlements had spread to thousands of worlds that had once belonged to alien civilizations. Humanity now controls the resources that once supported hundreds of different species. Our population is expanding rapidly. Our technology improves daily through the integration of alien knowledge. Within a generation, we will have the population and infrastructure to make our current dominance permanent. Some humans in the audience shifted uncomfortably. Philosopher Jiwan Kang had been writing essays questioning whether humanity was becoming the very evil they had fought against. "Are we any different from the aliens who wanted to relocate us?" she had written. "We have done to them what they planned to do to us, but with far more finality." But these concerns were minority opinions. Most humans supported their government's actions. They remembered being told they were too primitive to govern themselves. They remembered being scheduled for relocation to prison worlds. They remembered that every alien species had voted to destroy human freedom. Colonel Tae-ho Kim, commanding the patrol fleets on the galactic rim, represented the majority human opinion. The galaxy made its choice when it decided humans were powerless. We have simply shown them the consequences of that choice. As President Kim concluded her address, a priority message arrived from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Communications specialist Soo Bin-yoon brought the report directly to the president. "Ma'am, we are receiving transmissions from the Andromeda galaxy. An alien confederation there has learned about events in our galaxy. They are requesting diplomatic contact with humanity." President Kim read the message carefully. The Andromedan Alliance claimed to represent 12 different species in controlled territory larger than the entire Milky Way galaxy. Their message was polite but firm, requesting meetings to discuss the human situation and establish proper galactic governance. The president looked at the message for a long moment, then handed it to Admiral Lee. "What is your assessment, Admiral?" Lee read quickly, then looked up with an expression that mixed concern with anticipation. "They are making the same mistake the local aliens made. They assume that because they are older and larger, they can dictate terms to humanity. Recommendations: begin. Immediate preparation for extragalactic operations. If the Andromedans want to discuss proper governance, we should be prepared to teach them the same lesson we taught the Galactic Council." President Kim nodded and turned back to the audience of surviving aliens. "You have heard our plans. Some of you served the old order that tried to imprison humanity. Others among you simply stood by and allowed it to happen. But you have all learned the price of underestimating human determination." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Now you will help us prepare for the next lesson we must teach. It appears that other galaxies still believe that humans can be controlled or managed. They will soon discover that such thinking leads to the same destination as the species who once filled this chamber. They will discover that when you assume humans are powerless, you vanish forever." As the session ended, the small group of surviving aliens filed out of the chamber in silence. They had learned their lesson well. Humanity was not to be challenged or questioned. It was to be served or it was to be avoided completely. But they also knew that somewhere in distant galaxies, other species were making the same mistake that had led to the disappearance of the Velkari, the Kronex, the Nethvar, and so many others. Those species would learn soon enough that the age of alien dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. And unlike the brief lifespans of the extinct galactic species, human memory was very, very long. Epilogue. 5 years later, the first human ships reached the edge of Andromeda Galaxy. They carried a simple message from humanity to the Andromedan Alliance. "We understand you wish to discuss proper galactic governance. We are here to teach you what we learned. Class begins now." The message was signed by Admiral Soo-hyun Kim, commanding the first extragalactic expansion fleet. History would record that the lesson was taught very effectively and very permanently. After all, humans had become excellent teachers.